That was like.
All right. So, what I got tonight is I'm going to talk about Billy Graham and his life. Basically, that's basically what tonight is about. Born William Franklin Graham Jr. On November 7th, 1918, in Charlotte, North Carolina. In 1949, he was preaching. That's when he began his preaching at L.A. Revival and was a guest on Stuart Hamblin's radio show. The publicity made Graham a superstar, and he began broadcasting his sermons globally. The detractors have criticized Graham for being too liberal. One-time reporter dubbed him the Pope of Protestant America. Billy Graham retired in 2005. Just kind of as a synopsis of his life. Now I'm going to go into more depth of his life from his early life until he's older. The religious figure, Christian evangelist, born again William Franklin Graham Jr. on November 7, 1918, in Charlotte, North Carolina. His parents, William and Morrow Graham. Billy Graham was the first of 4 children raised on the family's dairy farm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In hindsight, there was little indication that Graham would one day preach the Christian gospel to as many as 250 million people in live audiences over 185 countries. Graham had been credited with preaching to more individuals than anyone else in history, not counting the additional millions he addressed through radio, television, and the written word. While Graham's parents were strict Calvinists, it would have been an unfamiliar traveling evangelist who had set Graham on a profound spiritual path. At the age of 16, Graham attended a series of revival meetings run by evangelist Mordecai Ham. Despite the fact that Graham was a well-behaved adolescent, Ham's sermons on sin spoke to young Graham. After high school, Graham moved to Tennessee to enroll in the conservative Christian school, Bob Jones College. However, he felt disconnected from the school's rigid doctrine and soon transferred to the Florida Bible Institute. While in Florida, Graham joined a Southern Baptist Convention church where he was ordained in 1939. After graduating from Florida Bible Institute with a bachelor's in theology, Graham moved to Illinois and enrolled at Wheaton College for further spiritual training. Here he would meet his wife, Ruth McHugh Bell. You see up here in the picture. Ruth was a daughter of a missionary and lived with her family in China until she turned 17. After graduating with a bachelor's degree in anthropology, Graham and Bell were married on August 13, 1943. They would eventually raise 5 children together. I'm going to stop for just a second. I'm going to share you a couple of quotes I think are pretty good that Billy Graham said. The first one was, "Man has 2 great spiritual needs. One is for forgiveness. The other is for goodness." The second one is, "God has given us 2 hands, one to receive with and the other to give with." Graham was known as a superstar preacher. He briefly pastored the Florida First Baptist Church in Western Springs, Illinois, before leaving to join Youth for Christ, an evangelical missionary group which spoke to returning servicemen and young people about God. In 1947, Billy Graham became president of Northwestern Schools, a group of Christian schools in Minnesota. In 1948, he resigned from Youth for Christ and focused on Northwestern Schools until 1952, when he resigned to concentrate on preaching. It did not take long for people to identify with Billy Graham's charismatic and heartfelt gospel sermons. In 1949, a group called Christ for Greater Los Angeles invited Graham to preach at their Los Angeles revival. When radio personality Stuart Hamblin had Graham on his radio show, word of the revival spread. The publicity filled Graham's tents and extended the revival for an additional 5 weeks. At the urging of the newspaper magnate William Hearst, papers around the nation covered Graham's revival meetings closely. As a consequence, Graham became a Christian superstar. Sociologically, it's believed that Graham's success was directly related to the climate of post-World War II America. Graham spoke out against the evils of communism, one of the biggest fears threatening the American consciousness. In a 1954 interview, Graham stated, "Either communism must die or Christianity must die, because it is basically a battle between Christ and Antichrist." Thus, Graham helped bind together a vulnerable nation through religious revival. In order to expand and maintain a professional ministry, Graham and his colleagues eventually incorporated the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA. Graham began broadcasting his sermons over the radio during a Christian show called Songs in the Night. Once a week, he also hosted a program called The Hour of Decision, a program ABC initially transmitted to 150 stations before reaching its peak of 1,200 stations across America. Eventually, this program was converted to a television show, which ran for 3 years. The success of Graham's radio and television programs spoke to his role as a Christian media visionary. Graham used the media as a means for spreading the gospel of Christ, allowing him access to millions of people around the globe. With success, BGEA opened numerous international offices, started publishing periodicals, records, tapes, films, and books. BGEA also accepted invitations from religious figures around the world to hold evangelical crusades, which became known as the Billy Graham Crusades. Scouts would be sent to these cities to reserve a venue, organize volunteer choirs, and arrange speakers. At the end of these events, audience members would be invited to commit to Christ and meet with volunteer counselors. These new recruits would be given workbooks for at-home Bible study and referrals to local evangelist pastors. BGEA eventually began to air footage of these crusades on national television with subscriber information. In 1952, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association created the Billy Graham Evangelistic Film Ministry as a means of distributing personal conversion stories to the public through films. In terms of print media, BGEA created Christianity Today in 1955. This magazine continues to be the leading journal for evangelical Christians. Now I'm going to go into the impact of his ministry and some of the criticism that he had. Graham's detractors have criticized him for being too liberal and refusing to play in partisan politics. Fundamentalists wrote him off when he condemned violence perpetrated by the anti-abortion group Operation Rescue. Theologian Reinhold Niebuhr has called him simplistic, while evangelist Bob Jones believes Graham has done more to harm the cause of Jesus Christ than any other living man. President Truman even went so far as to call Graham a counterfeit. Some anti-Semitic comments between Graham and President Nixon were also caught on tape in 1972. However, through his long and extraordinary career, has overwhelmingly been regarded in a positive light. One-time reporter calling him the Pope of Protestant America. Another reporter from USA Today writes, he was the evangelist who did not rip off millions, Jim Baker, or run the prostitute, Jimmy Swaggart, or build a megachurch, Joel Osteen, or run for president, Pat Robertson, or run a Christian political lobby, Jerry Falwell. Graham's integrity has encouraged millions to heed his spiritual guidance, including Martin Luther King Jr., Bono, Muhammad Ali, United States presidents from Eisenhower to Bush. He has been rated by the Gallup organization as one of the 10 most admired men in the world, a staggering 51 times. He is regarded by contemporaries as humorous, non-judgmental, sincere, innocent, and accepting. His legacy: Graham has been awarded the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Freedom Award, the Congressional Gold Medal, the Templeton Foundation Prize for Progress in Religion, the Big Brother Award, the Templeton Prize for Progress in Religion, and Speaker of the Year Award. Additionally, Graham was recognized by the National Conference of Christians and Jews for promoting understanding between faiths and was bestowed with the honorary Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire. In 1992, Billy Graham announced he was diagnosed with hydrocephalus, a disease similar to Parkinson's disease. His son, William Frank Graham III, was chosen to take over BGA upon his father's retirement. Billy and his wife, Ruth, eventually retired to their home in Montreat, North Carolina in 2005. Unfortunately, in 2007, Ruth Graham passed away from pneumonia and degenerative osteoarthritis. She's remembered by her husband, 5 children, and 19 grandchildren. Billy Graham turned 90 in 2008. That's all I've got on Billy Graham. He's had a very long, very filling life. He has said in his memoir that he has some regrets. Mainly, he didn't spend more time with his family, and that he didn't do more things with his family and not just with other people. So he does have some regrets, but overall, he said he's enjoyed ministry. He enjoyed when he was in ministry. Now he just seeks to wait till he goes home. So that's it. That's all I got.